to the Fire Nation, seeking a new ally against Unalaq.
Alright, so that was it. Still a pretty crazy trip.
We found the Avatar washed up on shore.
Get out of here, Serena Williams. What, is this sage a descendant of Ming with the exact same voice? She got as mean of a serve as you? Some people guess that this is a Zula post-Unseen redemption arc, purely just because of the hairstyle, which is definitely a stretch. But hell, I've had some pretty long shot takes on this show, so who knows? I just hope it's not her because, like I've said before, not every villain needs to be redeemed. Here's another example of a hand just being on fire, and while that's not exactly what I imagined firebending to be, I guess it doesn't break any of the rules I know of.
Let the waters cleanse the darkness that plagues your spirit.
So is this a spirit oasis or something? Just chilling on this Fire Nation island?
You are the Avatar.
One thing I think they really do handle appropriately is how little we get to see of Aang. In these first 2 seasons, it's really a treat when we get a glimpse of him. It feels special. We'll get into how I feel about the other 2 seasons and the past Avatars later.
Go back. Return to the beginning.
Oh, hey, Kuruk, you're feeling spiritually not in need of your polar bear hat today? Everyone else looking like their normal spirit forms.
My name is Juan, and I will show you how I became the first Avatar.
Oh my god. The first, oh my god.
Nobody steals from the Chu brothers!
Really? Because I just did.
Juan gets characterized extremely strongly right away here, and you know I love that. Seems confident, wisecracking, a rule breaker, quick thinking, but also clearly does things without thinking of the consequences, which is a running theme with him. Here in this shot, you can actually see Juan talking in the reflection of one of the Chu's spears, but why does some bread mess him up so bad? What are you stealing from these guys, hardtack? Whoa, why is that pig chicken so big? Or why is this one so small?
You guys are hungry too, huh?
Pigeon peacock, skunk squirrel, Brian.
Juan, you should eat.
They need it more than I do. Besides, I'm tired of eating scraps. If only there was some way to get into the Chu's food cellar, we'd be eating—
Just eat the fucking bread!
Great guardian of our city, we are venturing into the spirit wilds to bring back food for our people.
Notably in this 2-parter, each lion turtle we end up seeing has different markings and details on its face as well as a different eye color. And the one Aang ends up meeting has the same features as the one that gives Juan his first element, which means they're very likely the same one.
The lion turtle.
Juan and Aang both even have nearly the same reaction to first seeing it.
A lion turtle.
The power is yours to keep until your return.
The voice is a little different, but you know, voices change over time. I'm sure it's the same for a giant mythical beast.
The true mind can weather all the lies and illusions without being lost.
I gotta say too, really cool visual direction to take these episodes in, especially in the face of the notably weaker animation and art direction of the first half of this season, and especially when that was in the face of season 1, which was usually animated beautifully and had some really interesting lighting and ideas for shots. Here, thankfully, we're treated with something new to look at, and right now at the very least, there's nothing really extremely standout about it. It's just pretty, which I like. It's also a really cool idea that since it's so far in the past and we're dealing with a world that's mostly centered around Eastern practices and mythologies, it would take on a similar art style that some of those cultures used in the distant past. Similar idea to the Cave of Two Lovers story.
What goodies did you snatch for us this time?
Man, Pasho is old. Pasho's older than the Avatar as a concept.
What did you do? You can't steal from the lion turtle?
Really? Because I just did.
Haha, he said the same thing twice.
Really? Because I just did. It's time to stop being so afraid of the Chus and show them we have the power to change things.
Me and Chaya get to have the cool identifying masks because we're the important ones. Could you imagine just being a full foot shorter than, I assume, your triplet, just completely fucked in the genetic lottery machine? It's like, come on, man. You got pretty good form for not being trained at all, don't you think? This move seems highly technical, doesn't it? This is like some Paku move with fire, and we've never really seen fire sustain like this without any obvious bending keeping it going, and it's disconnected from the body. This move's kind of messed up. We haven't seen Masters even do anything like this. Didn't you get fire bending like 6 hours ago? Is he just gifted?
No, please! Have mercy!
Anyone else get the idea that these guys were like childhood friends or something? Just that line read, the fact that he knows his name and he seems kind of hurt and surprised. Is Juan that prolific of a food thief that the rulers would know his name?
Even when you have the power, you're afraid to use it.
Another parallel to Aang here. Ozai shares the same sentiment as Chu the Smaller after they were both spared.
Even with all the power in the world, you are still weak.
I am sorry for stealing the fire from you and I accept my punishment. But please, I need to be able to protect myself in the wilds.
Okay.
This Chinese myth dragon spirit starts as one spirit, but as Juan nails it with a fireball, it splits into two. Were some lucky that fire is extremely effective against all these plant-based threats in the spirit wilds? What if it was a water lion turtle? Whoops, no avatar. I guess the world would just stay like this forever. Alright, fuck that. Patron shadows, you want. Juan goes flying off a sheer drop that only Azula could probably tank, but then he's just sliding down a generous little decline here. This spirit seems to have, like, an offspring it's looking after. Wait, what, do spirits? What? Yeah, and then these two smaller twin spirits pass here, and then the same ones but way bigger seem to be on their way to the Oasis too, just a minute later.
And who might you be?
I am Bushy, the bush spirit, and I would like to enter your oasis.
Very well. You may pass.
Alright, one of my biggest gripes with these episodes is that they just turn spirits into just dudes. Like, there's nothing really special about them. They don't act any differently than humans for the most part. They have a pretty even temperament when not possessed by Satan. A lot of people don't like their spirit designs very much, and I can see why, but I don't really know how you solve the issue of having to draw 50 spirits without it ending up like this. I mean, what are spirits to us, as we know them? Some can be monstrous, some look like animals, some can even look like humans. So the design window is pretty wide, and I don't think anyone wants the spirits to look too samey. That's one of my biggest issues with the dark spirits, is that they're boring to look at. So I don't mind the varied designs, even if most of them are kind of boring. But like I said, my biggest thing is that they lose a lot of their mystique in this episode. They just feel like people. Tui and Law were nature spirits, one of which went on a silent, wrathful rampage when it was crossed. Wan Shi Tong was an angry librarian that didn't want anything to do with humans. He just wanted to gain knowledge. He was off doing his own thing. Heibai was this animalistic spirit that took out its anger on anyone near it, not knowing that the Fire Nation was the one that burned his forest down. Ko was just this weird thing in a tree that was very ancient and weird and scary, that for unknown reasons set up some weird arbitrary rules for himself. There was a mystery to the idea of the spirit world and spirits in general. They were sort of beyond the realm of humans and their wants and needs. They were separate in an interesting way, so when Airbender dealt with them, it was kind of a big deal. But Korra's episodes called Beginnings does away with that, to just have them be people. And I think that makes a facet of the world of Avatar a lot less interesting. I actually don't mind the world being not too different at all, though. I think that most people, when criticizing that, don't realize that even now we're still in the physical world. We're just in a physical world where spirits have taken up resident in what's called, at this time, the spirit wilds. We're in the normal world currently, there's just a fuckload of spirits.
So which way to the nearest lion turtle city?
I think it's on the other side of None of Your Business Valley.
Canonically, this spirit, weird we never get a name for him, right? But anyway, this spirit was reincarnated into this kid in Aang's time. That's a real fact for sure. It's a nice little beat that Juan fed the animals from earlier despite being hungry himself, and then chooses to free this cat deer despite being hungry again. Honestly though, how do you differentiate between spirit and animal out here? As far as I'm concerned, this thing is just as likely a spirit with the same mental faculties as you. There's this thing could be an animal, or these things, but no, they're spirits.
Now get out of the way.
No.
Juan's really good at throwing fireballs in the middle of crowds and having everyone fall down. That's what he's best at, crowd control. Really cool idea to have the chase scene resolved with Juan using his knowledge of the spirit wilds to beat these guys. But I gotta say, some of these deaths are pretty horrifying. Like, this guy's just gone. This guy, I don't even want to know what he's going through right now. And all for nothing, really. Juan throws a fire blast at them and then starts running away. If they wanted, they could just be like, oh, okay, Juan's gone, let's eat the cat thing. Hey, Aang got dummied in the exact same way one time, remember that?
I really hate humans.
Pretty cool storytelling that the dude from earlier who was afraid of spirits was obviously possessed by one for a short time after seeing this, so that's why he's so afraid. Good job, show.
I feel great. What's in this water?
Heroin. You humans call it spirit water, I believe.
I saw you save the cat deer from those hunters.
Yeah, but who's gonna save everyone else from this yoked carrot guy? In fact, a lot of these spirits seem to be vegetation-based. Heibai would have had a different vibe if he was a giant kumquat.
I've never seen such an act of selflessness from a human before.
Told you I wasn't like the others.
No, you didn't. You threw fire at him, and then you tried to trick him, and then you called him ugly. You didn't say you were different at all.
Are you off to find another lion turtle city?
I was, but I think I've had enough of humans for a while. I decided to stay here and learn the ways of the spirits.
Yeah, that's awful presumptuous. You think you can just stay indefinitely. Where's your manners? What, were you raised in a... Oh, never mind. That's actually worse than what I was gonna guess. Despite me liking the art style a lot in these episodes, sometimes some of the backgrounds can look a touch unfinished.
The way Juan moves fire, like nothing I've ever seen.
Okay, here's one of the ones you've all been waiting for. The decade-plus-old argument at this point. Did humans learn the elements from their respective animals / moon, or did the lion turtles give it to them? And I'm here to say emphatically, decisively, that both sides of the argument are being dicks for no reason. Can what the original show said about the original benders and learning from them at least semi-reasonably be applied to the interpretation that lion turtles gave the ability to humans, and then the humans learned later how to harness them skillfully by studying and learning from each culture's classic bending source, which then became known as bending? Yes, I think that is at least a reasonable interpretation. See, it's even visualized here. However, is that at all what the original show would have you believe from what it tells you and how it communicates it? No, not at all. The original show would have you believe that humans learned only from the sources stated in Airbender. So that leaves us with one side arguing that Korra didn't retcon anything because their interpretation allows for the lion turtles. But most people accepting that and arguing online about it ignore the way information was communicated to us in Airbender, and that was just the accepted truth until this episode. And because the lion turtles do away with that, it does very much feel like a retcon. The other side sees this as absolutely a retcon because this was not mentioned in the original and this is a new origin. And those arguing online refuse to accept the, like I said, at least semi-reasonable interpretation of lion turtles granting the power and then learning skilled bending from the animals. Leaving us with two groups of people in an endless struggle because they don't want to give the other way of thinking any room to exist at all. Be reasonable. Is it a retcon? Is it not? The enlightened answer is, who cares? What I do care about is that this dragon dance they try to give Wan, it's so whack. With how good the original dragon dance was, how kinetic it felt, the energy of the movements, the snappiness, it's all just lost here. It really saddens me. Man, Wan's like a crazy master already. He's doing some Paku shit, he's doing some Avatar / Chit Sang level crowd control here. Maybe he was the one teaching the dragon.
So I say we leave this city and start over. Who's with me?
I mean, all of you? Okay, I guess. Tree Man expertly did not take firebending, highly intelligent.
You ready to go, Moolah?
The Avatar having a 4-letter named animal guide goes all the way back to Wan, huh? See, back then, this was before you always fucking everything up on a nightly basis.
The all-powerful spirits are battling!
Who said that? Who's there? The spirits? Sounded like a pro-bending announcer. Is he an announcer spirit that's been doing it for eons? Get it? They kind of look like the Taiji-2 as they roll around a little bit. You get it, guys? You get that one?
Stop!
Look at him, I'm telling you. Crowd control. Shooting fire dead in the middle.
Save me. She has tormented me for 10,000 years.
10,000 years.
Does this line feel weird to anyone else? Like, Wan only really considers it since it was 10,000. What if it was 1,000? What if it was 10? Would the horrible spirit of clearly evil incarnate not be worth helping then?
Do you realize what you've done?
No, you didn't explain it to me like you should have. You just smacked me. This whole thing could have been avoided if you just used your words like Vatu.
I was keeping him under control.
And what gives you the right?
You don't even know who I am, do you?
Should I?
You should have been briefed about this.
I am the force of light and peace. Since the beginning of time, we have battled over the fate of this world.
I have a few problems with Raa and Vatu and this whole system that the world works under, but this episode only introduces them in the last 2 minutes of it, so we'll have to save those points for next time. I think Beginnings Part 1 is a pretty good episode of TV. We're totally removed from our main cast. Korra's only on screen for probably less than 2 minutes, but really it's the most interesting episode of the show so far. Take that statement as you will. The concept of an origin story for the Avatar I think is just naturally interesting. You hear that's going to be a couple episodes and your ears perk up, right? I don't think naturally interesting means that it's a good idea to do though, but we'll get more into those feelings next episode. For this episode though, I think they did a great job with Wan, introducing him so quickly and characterizing him so strongly as a revolutionary, a problem solver and adventurous, but also merciful and kind. He's really easy to like. I also think they very effectively showed us the difference in time period of the world. The art naturally does that on its own, which is a nice bonus, but they very quickly show us that people live extremely differently in this time period. The world is different in big ways, and that's immediately thought-provoking. As an introduction to this two-parter, I think this episode pretty much nails it, but we'll get more into my problems with this special in part 2. Patreon shoutouts if you want to see the next 2 episodes of Overanalyzing Korra ahead of the YouTube release. You can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons. A stack of pancakes who could just describe a show out loud, and the nearest TV will show them the closest possible show that's on. Aurora, who can't turn their neck one way, but can turn it 360 degrees the other. Balm Your Candle, who can bleed any blood type they want. Ben Misra, who had a golden statue of himself sunk to chat Challenger Deep so he could call himself the king of the depths. Donut, who can steal the youth from living things, but they just use it on like 50,000 mosquitoes a day, so no worries. Gene Cree, who to my knowledge is the only person to ever end their own funeral with a sick gainer out of their coffin. Liquor Cause I Know Her, who did the most dangerous yoga pose, but now they're so limber they can yoga their way through a chain link fence. MC Ren, who can peel an orange with their teeth without grimacing even a bit. Omega Fighter, who has been correct a record 16,705 times in a row, and they don't plan on stopping. Sean Martin, who melted down a bunch of coins from different countries and forged a sword from them, and now they will attempt to literally cut taxes. Tater of Tots, who wears an eye patch, because if they got to use both of their eyes, no one could resist their enchanting gaze. And that one Turian, who went on a date with the princess of a small European country and didn't get a second date because the princess felt, quote, inadequate. And of course my other fuck you money patrons, Dur50 Kobold, Josue Ramirez, Leferk13, Luna Invicta, Lurfax1, Matthew Lang, One Leg Wonder, Potato Scream, The Former Meaning of Life, The 1am Party, and Whitrow. And my god overanalyzers, Two Boots Are Beat, Ang, Alan Garvin, Andrew Jacobson, Andrew Watchett, Aropataro, Billowing Mustache, Blacksbeam, Bob Def, Chandler Crump, Charles the Fartbender, Kobe Smith, Deathly Healer, Dr. Xerox, Dominic Saint, Dricker, Emma Not Emma, Aaron Grace, Fire Lizard 44, Gianluca Leandro Magi, Amma Match, Jackson, Jeremy Rubenstein, John Ajaka, Justin Scott, Liquor Cause I Know Her, Mac and Eligio, Medium D Speaks, Michael Fellon, Mitchell Gobrecht, Nick, Nicholas Abbott, Peter Bayron, Pogger White, Red Pyrobite, Reese, Rocket Mist, Ryan Gregorikos, Ryan Maxwell, Sandy Stormborn, Shane Antonacci, Silk Toast, Smarty Marty, Spicy Ketchup, Super Snipper, Thomas Barrett, Victoria the Queen, Von Can't Spell, YouTube copyright sucks, take my money, and then there's some sort of bear face man, I don't know what it is. Next up, the other one you've all been waiting for.